Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 9th, and well, more of the same. A little bit of continuation there. We're starting to get into the near warning sign here. This little yellow line up here on the shakeout just indicates that things have, progressed to a point where they're a little on the frothy side, as we might want to say. Also, the positive extremes down here, which we know that means this breakout move gets retraced. Just not yet. We've got the cyan well underneath the red from the DOC standpoint, and it started off with the cross of the steel and green here, midterm, long-term buyers, and proceeded straight up through it. And the key was getting the orange out of the range when we were stuck in that little bit of a consolidation. We weren't too concerned about it. What we were looking for was pivot around the ABM green value. Let's put it up there so we can see it. It was at 2175. I showed my entry was right around the 85 range right here as we were coming back up over the yellow, but I had already closed out from previous positions that were way down at the bottom of this move, and just allowed to get brand new position set up and moving along nicely. No complaint about that one whatsoever. We can see the NQ. Oh, a bit of a correction needed. And you ever see that you just right click it and you can apply it to the window, or you can apply it to all the charts if they have a correction. Sometimes it's just an adjustment. We'll let that do that. But you can see the NASDAQ still behind. And then there's the Dow. Look at the Dow. Yeah, they're expecting some huge things. Now, this is the interesting thing, the expectation versus reality. This is why you buy the rumor, and then you will sell the news, because invariably the news is going to be less. But the difference is that the expectation is that there's going to be a centrally focused attention on the economy and making it grow, as opposed to the stagnation that was the policy before. Now, this is a problem, though, because you have serious implications with inflation, the debt levels, and how you're going to manage that with potentially higher rates. Now, we had our lower range right here. We knew that was the key threshold that the central banks had to hold. They pushed quite well above, but we could tell that there was not going to be any sustainability to this move. This was not the question. It was just whether they could force enough short covering to create a little mini run. It started there, but it was amazing how quickly it retreated, and that's just because the headwinds that exist in Europe are undeniable, and there's just no way around them. And particularly now, if there's this 100% expectation of rate increases, then obviously the dollar is going to get stronger, because quantitative easing is still going to be the name of the game in Europe, because they're behind the curve. And so that was an easy one, and we posted the short from that one, peaking up there in the mid 108 range. Easy call. It was a good one, because at the same time, we'll go over it in a little bit. I have the 5K. I was going to discuss the power mo. We'll do it after we go through these. TLT, yeah, like I promised you, no question about that. Keep lowering the turnaround point. Pretty shortly, we'll get right over here to the ABM yellow for 121.05 as this continues to degrade. And USO, we filled in the positive extremes, which, well, we got most of them. We still have to come back over here to this one. We came right back to the peak high of it right about here. If we get you right about there, you can see we hit the high of it. So a little bit of a bounce back. This is going to, I think, flex back and forth until we get the cyan back over the red. I think you got to look for it to hold, or at least maintain a slight positive, which is typically what that suggests, and then we would look for that full retrace as it takes place. This was just a nice little backfill into the breakout mode, and there's still some optimism that oil will hold up. I just think that the problem you've got long term is the ability for shale to ramp up at any time and flood the market, and once it floods the market, it's hard to get a grip on that. And then you have gold here. This is where I need the little sound effect of like the heart monitor, where it goes from dun dun to flat line. And some of that's just a structural thing with what's going on with the liquidity crisis in India and how that plays out. So that'll get worked out soon enough. 5K chart here. from the ES was pretty straightforward as we ended up with the cyan below red multiple times, and that led to the breakouts. We had a couple of positive extremes that caused a little bit of move, but nothing. Did we even touch it was 36.75. We exactly touched the ABM green and then bounced right off of it. I mean, it's an exact touch to the tick. Gotta love it when that takes place. Let's go ahead and take a look at that Euro chart I was talking about. So what we were looking at is, if we focus down here at the power mode 2, the question was about chaos events and what they mean. And what you have here is, if we take a look at the reading there, you see that there's a plus 1.618 and a minus. Well, chaos event takes place when that positive moves below the red line here, which is 0, and becomes a negative number, which it's not able to do. It's signaling to us that we've had an algorithm disruption and that they've triggered a point at this level. Now, what's interesting about this chart is you can see that there are several key points, and they all correspond to right around this 105.916 range on the Euro, going through several key points. Now, the magnitude of these, what I did was I allowed the color adjustment where it turns yellow to warn you that it has dipped below, and then the red gives you the trigger, and then you can use the little, these are points, I made them, and you can adjust it. Normally it'll just show up as a line on your chart, but the individual points made it easier. Looking for the direction, suggested it lower, it was going to continue. Now, at that point, you then can turn to your DOC and look for turnaround signals at that point, because what these signals indicate is that whatever move takes place, either up or down, you're going to get a return right back to that level. So in this particular case, where it's calling for a little bit lower, it moved a little bit lower. We get the turnaround signal, but at that point, you're still going to come back there. So if you're buying those dips coming through here with this yellow buy, you know that at least you're going to get back up to this level. So it becomes a point where you can then look for the mean. So in this particular case, we had rising. Yeah, market shot up, but you then know that it's going to retrace. You ended up with those positive extremes, another clarity point, and it gives you the opportunity to, without having to try and capture the top, know that you're pretty close to it. And as soon as you start to get any indication signal of steel dipping below cyan, that kind of thing, or in this case a DOC spread, which took place right at the peak of this first magenta bar right there, then you've got a clear target that it's going to take you to, and that's where it becomes helpful. So if we scroll through, though, you would think that this is just an arbitrary line, even though we keep getting these near impacts around to it. They don't happen all that often. Now, there have been a lot of currency disruptions, but you can see we are exactly right back at that same point. Now, that's not to be confused with some of these that are positive ones, where it remained positive but shot up in a dramatic fashion. Those usually lead to rises there, and you can see that that took place in that situation. But we're really looking for when the positive number goes into a negative, and it creates this effect right here, because it's really a staggering mathematical anomaly to have it happen. And when it does take place, it's worth noting, and that's why it is something that's key. Now, as we're looking at things right now, we're pretty much not really doing a whole lot going into the Friday, and that's fine. No big changes are expected. I think we're just going to coast along. Everyone's going to be waiting for additional picks and or movement from the administration to continue to make any future assessments. But I mean, it's been a pretty significant run. I think some of it's got to get absorbed. So, as always, though, do look for me on the Skype chat. Trade well.